I know it's after 4, but we're waiting on some technical difficulties to get some of our other board members on the phone. So once we get them on the phone, we'll be able to start the meeting, okay? Thank you for your patience.
Hello, this is Colette.
6? Hello and good afternoon. It is now 4:05 after a few technical difficulties, and we are going to start the meeting of the Board of Directors. We're going to start with roll call, which is something I always forget. Linda Bove.
Sure, happy to assist. Thank you, President Buchanan. This is Linda speaking, and I call for Linda Bove. She's here. Brittany Buchanan.
I'm present.
Colette Chapman.
Present.
Thank you. Michael Gordon.
I'm present.
Hello, this is Clifford.
Okay. Diana Herron.
I think that we are still waiting for her to be able to connect, but we have heard that she is supposed to be connecting with us.
Okay. Then we also have Bill Kaler
Present.
and Earl Terry.
I did hear the interpreter on the phone say that that Clifford was present. That's his legal first name, I do believe. He actually does go by Earl.
Correct. So, Earl, can you confirm if you're here with us? We just need you to acknowledge that you're present. This is Linda Bove speaking. Calling for Clifford or Earl?
Earl's here. This is Earl.
Wonderful, thank you. Shauna Tamaiko?
I'm present.
Excellent, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We do have 2 deaf board members that are on the phone, and they are using video relay. So we definitely need to, as board members, and if anybody comes up to public comment, please be aware of how fast you're speaking, because we're going through the phone to an interpreter that's going to go to our board member that's on video interpreting, and that's just a lot of time and a lot of relay. So we're going to take a lot of pauses. We're going to be nice and slow to make sure that everybody has fair access and has the ability to give feedback. A second thing I would like to bring up is interim board president currently. I have to notify the board that I did have a contact with our board member Earl Terry regarding policy BBBD. So this is my notification as interim president that I did have contact with our board member Earl Terry about his attendance expectations for the board meetings. Per this policy, and if none of you board members are aware, we will be aware now. You have to attend board meetings, at least 50% of the regular scheduled board meetings in person. Should an ASDB board member be unable to attend over 50% of board meetings in person, you can request from the president a waiver for remote attendance. However, if you miss more than 2 consecutive meetings when the circumstances surrounding the absences raise questions about the interest of the member on the work of the board, it is the board president's discretion to contact that board member and ask if this can be considered a resignation from the board. I did contact Earl Terry a couple days ago and asked if he intended to remove himself from the board due to his lack of attendance and missing 3 meetings. However, I have not received any correspondence with him. So pursuant to this policy, I just wanted to be able to notify you guys that this is a correspondence that's happened pursuant to the policy, and I am awaiting a response. Moving on from that, we can move on to 1.2, which is a call to the public on agendaized items. I did get a couple comments in my email. These are posted on the website for anybody. However, we'll start with the first one because I feel like some of these comments kind of gave that they are probably in person here. The first agenda item comment I got is from Anna Salazar. Anna, are you here? Would you like to come comment at the podium? Okay, so her comment, she wrote, "Dear members of the school board, I would like to highlight a critical need. Teachers require more support to do their jobs effectively. Educators are balancing increasing responsibilities, from meeting diverse learning needs to implementing new curriculum standards, often with limited resources and planning time. One meaningful way is to help by increasing the number of curriculum resource specialists. Thank you for considering this as an important issue." Okay. The second agenda item.
I want to make sure that I'm still in the meeting, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you repeat?
So I wanted to answer about the email for the meeting today because I showed up on the phone. Is that okay with you as president?
I'm sorry, which board member is speaking?
This is Earl Terry.
And we do not, sorry, this is board member Buchanan. We do not comment on public comments in this part of the meeting.
This is Earl Terry speaking.
Okay, I'm going to move ahead with the next public comment. The next public comment comes from, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, is it Lorene Damiff? If you're present and you'd like to make a comment at the podium, this is your time. All right, the only comment I have from Lorene is that she had wanted to sign a few words regarding curriculum, but she was non-specific in the comment. So, and it doesn't look like she is here. Already clicked that one. Let's see. And then the last one I have is an agenda item is Dr. Colleen Green. If you're present, would you like to come up and make your comment to us? This is Dr. Colleen Green.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Colleen Green, and I am the mother of two deaf children who have attended programs here. Currently, my son Brennan is a sophomore here, and he's very proud of the school. He fought to get in here, and I would like to discuss my concern about budget cuts around the sports program. The sports program is very integral to my son's curriculum here. And I believe it's also integral to the community as a whole because they interact with the Hearing Society as well during their sports programs. This has been a source of self-esteem, camaraderie, learning about themselves, learning about each other, and really how to unify together, which we all need in this environment that we're in today in America and in the world. So I really want you guys to understand the importance of that, and that if we don't have sports programs here, that would be very horrible, not only for our children and for this school, but for the community as a whole. So I hope that you will consider that in your budgeting activities.
Thank you so much, Colleen. Diana, are you on the phone with us?
Hi, yes, I am.
Welcome. We just finished the call to the public, and we're going to move on to information item 1.3, the superintendent's report. Superintendent Reichman.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Acting President Buchanan, members of the board, Assistant Superintendent Cooper, Assistant Superintendent Kachov, and members of the ASDB community. Welcome to our November 13th, 2025 board meeting. This is our last board meeting of the year for 2025. The next time we come together, it will be 2026. Time has flown. You may remember at our last board meeting, I quoted a famous Chinese philosopher, Confucius. He said that the better person, when they loose an arrow and miss the bullseye, that person does not cast blame on the weather or other people or the equipment. That person looks to themselves to figure out how to adapt to the weather, how to adapt to the influence of others, and how to adapt to their environment and their equipment, and they practice and they get better. And they loose their arrow again and aim to that bullseye. For us at ASDB, what is that bullseye? Student learning, of course. That is why we're all here. That is our purpose at ASDB, is to provide education and support to all of the students who are deaf, hard of hearing, blind, visually impaired, and deafblind throughout the state of Arizona. It's easy for us to become distracted by policy debates, with the socio-political climate that we find ourselves in, and with insufficient funds. All of those things are important, of course. But whatever we do, we must always remember what our priority is. Our bullseye, our focus, is our students. Early language acquisition, their development, their academic achievement, their social-emotional growth, and their college and career readiness. That is why we are here. So, any discussions that we have about planning for the future, our core focus must be that student achievement and student education. We all know that the next 2 to 3 years are critical to ASDB. Not only ASDB's survival, but also our long-term sustainability. We cannot continue with the operations and a budget deficit. We are now on our 3rd year, and we predict that we will end our 3rd year in a budget deficit. We will run out of cash reserves. We absolutely must find out what to do with our current systems, because we do not have the resources to continue to support them as they are. When we talk about risk and actions that we can take, we could continue with the status quo. We could choose to do that. That might be the easy thing to do. But now it is becoming riskier to maintain the status quo rather than make changes. I propose that the time is now to make changes within the agency, and we need to figure out what to do with our future and how to achieve ASDB's survival and longevity. Why is that so critical? Again, because of our students. our commitment to our students, to their education, and to their supports. We must figure out how we can continue as an agency. We know that we must address the decline in student enrollment. That ties to the decline in birth rate. So we can project that over the next future years, our student counts, we have an idea of what they will look like, and we can plan for that. We know that our students' needs are becoming more varied and more complex. We need to figure out how to best accommodate the needs of each and every one of our students. We know that our workforce continues to change. We have outstanding teachers and professional staff who have been here for many, many years. Some of them are approaching retirement. And we have a group of early career teachers as well, and professional staff who have different support needs. We need to determine how best to support them as well. We know that our facilities are in continuous decline. We have talked about that multiple times. We have an outstanding group of staff who have worked diligently to repair the facilities that we have, and they continue to do so that we can keep our students and staff safe and comfortable in our current facilities. But our facilities continue to decline because we do not have sufficient resources to properly renovate those facilities. Did I just mention money again? We do not have sufficient funds. And we know that the socio-political environment is going to continue to evolve and will not have the same priorities as it once did. So we must be able to address all of those things. So how do we do that? I would say we need to take a step back, look at ASDB as a whole, as an agency, break that down, and reimagine what ASDB can be. If we reimagine ASDB, what might that look like? In my mind, ASDB would become more malleable, more nimble, more flexible and adaptable, and smaller. If we had an ASDB that is capable of adjusting quickly and responding quickly to our changing student needs and providing a continuum of educational services that meets those individual needs of our students throughout the state, if we could meet the needs of our staff, their professional development, and their future career growth, how could we do that? Could we take money from the facilities and reallocate it to professional development? Potentially, but again, how? So we need to think about a redesign of our system that would allow us to provide the best possible services to our students while at the same time considering our limited resources. the resources that we have available to us now. What I'm saying is that over the next year, when you come back in January, we will have significant decisions and significant changes happening throughout the agency. You will be asked to be involved with some of those decisions. But we start today. One decision today that you will be asked to approve is 4 legislative bills. I'll talk about the bills just briefly. If you recall, in 2022, during our sunset audit, the Arizona Auditor General's report stated that we must develop a master facility plan in order to meet our capital needs. We have to have a plan for funding those needs. We did develop the master facilities plan. We did everything that the Auditor General asked of us. The very last piece that we have not done is to fund that plan. But how can we fund the master facility plan when we do not have the resources to do so? And the state legislature is, I do not believe, going to give us the funds to do so. The state system does not have the money to give us either. So where will we get that funding to develop? We need to develop a capital finance plan. We decided to look at other state agencies and see how they were able to meet their capital needs. And it so happens that the Arizona Board of Regents, which is referred to as ABOR, has a Northern Arizona University, an Arizona State University, and a University of Arizona. Those 3 universities are under ABOR. And they have an in-state statute that authorizes those universities to receive private funding for new buildings and for the renovation of existing buildings. So we took a look at that statute and pulled some of the language from that statute that we thought might meet our needs as well. We put together 4 proposed bills that we are going to review with you this evening. And we hope that you agree with us and will approve those bills. And then we will take those bills to the state legislature next spring in 2026 to ask the state legislature to give us the authority to receive private funding. The first of the 4 bills is really third-party financing. So, for example, if you were to purchase a home, you would get a loan. And then you would pay monthly on that loan through your mortgage. And that loan would pay for your home until it was paid off. And our first bill would essentially be the same concept. We would get a loan, we would build a new building, and then we would pay monthly on that new building until it was paid back. So that would be private funding. The second proposed bill is a type of funding that is referred to as lease to own. And that means a developer can set up a new building and we can move into that building. And then again, we pay monthly on a lease for the next 20, 30, 40 years until it becomes our building. So again, lease to own would be the second proposal or possible funding strategy for us. The third bill proposes a way of bringing in revenue.
If you notice, sometimes Arizona cars have a specialized license plate that might have a different logo or variety of language on it. So what if we had a license plate that says ASDB on the plate? We could sell that license plate and earn some money that way. That is the third proposed bill. And the fourth is the state lottery. Some state agencies do receive lottery funding. So, what if ASDB were to be added to that pool where we could receive some of the funds from state lottery? We can ask the state legislature to include us in that distribution, perhaps. So those are the four ideas that we have had in order to try to figure out how to get additional funds for our new buildings that we need on our campuses and to renovate our current buildings. That is on the agenda this afternoon. As we go through the meeting, you will have an opportunity to discuss the bills and ask some questions and Maria is here to respond as well. So, as I wrap up, I want to mention that I am very grateful for all of our teachers, professional staff, and leaders, as well as you, the board, for your commitment and your heart and your willingness to provide the best education and supports to all of our students. Thanksgiving is coming in just 2 weeks, and that is my favorite holiday because it is a time that we can slow down and reflect and appreciate our families, our friends, and others in our lives who we have around us. So I really appreciate all of you. So thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
This is Board Member Buchanan. Thank you, Annette, for your appreciation and recognition of the teachers and the staff that absolutely does all the work to make this agency run and be there for the people that we support most, which is the children that we educate. So we appreciate you as the board being at the helm of that for us. If there's no other comments or questions for Superintendent Reichman, we can move forward to 1.4, which is the Assistant Superintendent of Agency Operations and Support Services, Assistant Superintendent Shana Cooper.
Good afternoon, Acting Board President Buchanan, Superintendent Reichman, Deputy Assistant Superintendent Katchoff, members of the board, ASDB community, and staff members. Before I provide an update to everyone, being that it is the month of November, it's hard not to be thankful. So I do want to begin by saying thank you to the staff and students who continue to work hard. I know with the current climate of dealing with the budgetary challenges, it has caused deep concern, frustration, and unrest across the agency. And while I understand and share some of the angst, anxiety, and feel the weight that our financial situation presents, these challenges are ultimately creating necessary strategic opportunities and transformational changes. As I've shared in my board reports the last 2 years, there continues to be ongoing work to address the financial challenges we have been facing with the agency's budget. This is all at the same time while we are actively engaged in the ongoing performance and forensic audits, and also managing a period of elevated external political scrutiny. I remind everyone that these financial challenges are not new. The board staff, the community have been informed about these challenges for several years. This has included sharing information on the declining birth rates, declining student counts, the need to address our aging campus facilities, rising costs for goods from services related to inflation, and also the agency not receiving adequate funding since our campus-based schools became a local education agency for the provision of FAPE following the passage of House Bill 2863 in the spring of 2021. Additionally, we continue to have a hard time filling positions with qualified staff that we know provide special educational services. And unfortunately, we've had to turn to outside contractors, which is pretty costly since we haven't been able to internally hire staff. We've also had to take several measures to address what we see on the horizon. And as we've made clear, we know the decisions and the choices are really hard to make. So as Superintendent Reichman mentioned, our financial situation going into our third year of using our cash reserves is not keeping at the pace of our revenues. So $3 million in expenditures this year is what we need to be able to reduce. So I did want to go ahead and provide and share what we know is coming, and also provide some information in terms of how discussions have been over the last several weeks with the senior leadership team. We've met with school principals, all of the program and agency-wide directors. We've looked at opportunities to identify and reduce costs to help balance the budget. Opportunities to create several operational efficiencies were also identified. We've also discussed opportunities for program changes, service delivery model changes, and I know those conversations were hard. You can tell during those discussions no one wants to be able to make the cuts, but we all know that it's necessary in order to make sure that we balance our budget. With that being said, we've also looked at opportunities to see if there is a need to reduce staffing levels because they are not keeping up with the student decline. We've had to continue looking at ways to reduce personnel costs. As you've heard many times before, personnel makes up a little less than 80% of our budget. So that is the biggest area that we need to try and adjust to align with current and projected student counts. We've also recently implemented a hiring freeze where we've eliminated all vacant positions. For filled positions, we consider in looking at potentials for layoffs or a reduction in force. We've been looking at opportunities to make additional adjustments, modify staff work schedules. We've also talked about implementing furloughs as well as doing salary reductions as well. Last but not least, in addition to payroll, we continue to look at new opportunities for funding streams as Superintendent Reichman, which also tie and relate to the capital facility needs. We've been looking at primarily only focusing on those funding strategies that are more mission critical, that will ensure that we meet our contractual requirements as well as our regulatory necessities. So in closing, I know there's no way to really cut the budget easily without actually dealing with the pain. I know we all actually care about our jobs. We care about the individuals in the jobs. So these conversations are difficult to have as we look at our programs, how they impact our families, the students. But I do want everybody to know that the budget is a fluid process. So no final decisions have been made yet. But they are necessary to ensure that we continue to address the shortfall. So without actually making the shortfalls, we won't ensure any long-term sustainability for the agency. And as Superintendent Reichman mentioned, we need to be able to focus on change. And that is across the agency in totality. So I know in order to be able to make those changes, we need to be able to look at the agency differently and be able to focus on our students all at the same time. And in closing, again, as Superintendent Reichman mentioned, the conversations continue to be difficult, but I want to make sure that during these holiday seasons, we continue to keep our family and friends in the forefront. Take the time to recharge. This next couple of months is going to be pretty tough as we continue to make those decisions. So that wraps up my report. I'm open to answer any questions or respond to any comments you may have.
This is Board Member Buchanan. If there's no comments, Shannon, I appreciate all the hard work that you put into the budget and running the numbers and doing all of the work that you do to keep us running by the numbers. It is something that is not my strong point whatsoever, and I definitely appreciate that you bring such expertise and such dedication and passion to what you do for us as an agency. Moving on, we're going to go to 1.5, which is Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction Report, Interim Deputy Assistant Superintendent Chakoff.
Excuse me. Good afternoon, Board President Buchanan, Superintendent Reichman, Assistant Superintendent Cooper, members of the board, and members of the community. As Superintendent Reichman mentioned, the next time we all meet for the January board meeting, it'll be 2026. 2026 will be a year of big decisions and changes throughout this agency. More importantly, after 2026 comes 2027. And as we all know, in January of 2027, which is just a little over a year from now, we will be back in front of the Arizona legislature, like we were in 2023, asking the legislature to approve a continuation bill to continue the existence of the Arizona State Schools for the Deaf and Blind. Many of you remember fighting for that continuation bill in 2023. Some of you on the board, a lot of you in the community actually went down to the Capitol to be in person and to help for that bill. In 2023, we did successfully fight for a continuation bill to be signed, which approved ASDB to continue for 4 more years, which is through 2027. It's hard to believe, but those 4 years are almost up, and it's time again for us to prepare to fight. And that fight starts with coming up with a sustainable plan for this agency, which can get enough votes in the legislature to pass and ensure ASDB continues to flourish into the future beyond 2027. I bring this up because the changes we make in the next few months will affect the vision that we present to the legislature in 2027. Some of these proposed changes are included in the proposed legislative bills for this coming legislative session for year 2026, which are presented tonight for the board approval. As Superintendent Reichman shared, these 4 bills will allow the agency access to additional revenue streams as well as some additional flexibility. Assuming these bills are approved by the board, our hope will be that they're also approved by the legislature. But as the old cliche goes, hope is not a strategy. Hope is not enough. We also need to focus on what's within our control as we look at the changing reality of this agency and the changing context of education in Arizona as well as this entire nation. Passive resistance to changes within ASDB or strict adherence to some outdated processes will only put decisions about what happens to this agency in the hands of others, not in the hands of this leadership team or this board. In closing, I do want to remind everyone that change is not new to this agency. It does seem like every 10 to 20 years the agency goes through some form of transformation. For example, in 1987, ASDB's itinerant services were created as a way to assist students across Arizona who did not need the services of the 2 campuses, but still needed access to trained VI or DHH professionals. Since 1987, itinerant services has since grown to be the largest part of this agency as far as number of students served. Currently, our itinerant programs are responsible for 52% of ASDB's total student count. In comparison, ASDB's Birth to 5 early learning program serves approximately 31% of the students served by ASDB. PTSD serves about 11% of ASDB's student count. And the Tucson campus provides services to a little bit over 6% of the total number of students served by ASDB. For another example of how the agency has changed, in 2018, the Deaf Mentor Program was created as an additional early learning support to assist families with deaf and hard of hearing infants and toddlers to provide them with the opportunity to work with highly trained deaf and hard of hearing role models to begin acquiring American Sign Language. This was huge because, as we know, data shows that the more supports we can get families when their children are young, the better chance they have to be successful later in life. A final example of how we've changed, and this is only one of many, but a third example of how we changed is in 2023. We implemented positive behavior supports, better known as PBIS, in both campuses, and has been so effective in our Tucson campus that they just won yesterday a statewide award for their implementation of that behavior program. So congratulations, Tucson campus. These are just three of many, many examples of how the context, let me back up on that. This is just three of many examples of how the context of Arizona changes. This agency has a history of changing with it. As the context of our family and student needs have changed, services at ASDB have also changed with it. This needs to continue as we look into the future. As I've mentioned at every board meeting this year, we are not here to preserve tradition for its own sake or to resist change out of habit. We are the Arizona State Schools for the Deaf and Blind. We are here to serve students throughout Arizona who are hard of hearing, deaf, and have low vision. As we look at what ASDB's spectrum of services looks like in the future, we need to keep the needs of the families and students first. Thank you. You all have my board report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Question?
Go ahead, board member.
Hi, this is Bill Oren. Thank you for your report. I can't imagine yes I can, because I've been there, the pain of X number of kids divided by the budget gives us way too much money for way too few kids. Most recently, this past 2 weeks, I've been presenting at a national conference. One of the questions that we asked the participants in the conference, are you providing all the services that your youngsters need? And almost 65% said, no, we're not providing all the services that our youngsters need. They also said, we don't have any more time in the day to do that. So we can't change the clock, we can't change the calendar, but we can change the mechanism by which those children do get their services. There are many, many dynamics that go on, but we have people now who know that those youngsters are not getting what they need, and there's this gap. I'm sort of reminiscing of a World War II video where we had this giant river that we got to get across to win whoever we had to win. But the point is, big river we couldn't cross. Ingenuity, strategy, and creativity got a bridge across the river that took care of that battle, and ultimately the war was won. That gap is what needs to be addressed because the need is there. And the only way that we know that the need is there is when we reach out, not just to our staff, but to the staff across the state. And I realize this conference that we did cut across many states, but I have found the same dynamics in Arizona in talking with teachers within this state as there were across multiple states. Teachers are asked to do too much with not enough time and not enough resources. And we can lament, and the ongoing dilemma that we have for youngsters that go through our schools is unemployment. And we say, 75%, 75% of the youngsters that go through our programs end up unemployed. There was some other research that suggests that number is much less. I call that a creative manipulation of statistics. There's another term for that, but that's the polite way to say it. But the reality is we can offer a whole lot more in a different manner, as you have said, change kind of some of our traditional mechanisms. But those dynamics need to be identified, embraced, and addressed. And for all of us, as we leave here, well, except for me, I'm retired, but I did have a job. Every one of us that leaves here today has a job. When those youngsters leave here, either at the campus programs or our programs out around the state, are we telling their parents that 1 out of 4 of them might have a job when they leave? Well, what are we going to do about it? No, we don't we do something about it. And I applaud your efforts to dig in and get to it, but I think reaching out to more than just our own staff who are knowledgeable, I get the knowledge, but they're just as overworked as anybody else. We know what their caseloads are, their travels, especially our friends in itinerant services. So addressing those dynamics to get that gap not just reduced, but eliminated. So there's a free flow of students in wherever it's campus-based program they need or for the special services that they need. I know it can be done because it has been done, and I applaud your efforts and am willing to help wherever I can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is Board Member Buchanan. If there's no other questions or comments, Interim Deputy Assistant Superintendent Shakoff, I appreciate all the work that you've put in, especially since you carry the title of interim, but I feel like you've definitely been full-time with us doing this without that title for a little while now, and I know that your attention has been very divided between all that is encompassed in your position, and I think that you've done an incredible job just balancing that, and I just appreciate that you show up every day and do what's really best for our students. So I appreciate that, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward, we are going to move forward to consent agenda items, and we're at 2.1. This is an action item, and we are seeking the approval for the consent agenda consistent with board policy, and that is going to include a couple things. It will include items 3.2, 5.1, 6.1, 7.3, 7.4, and 7.5. For this, I will need a motion and a second in order to approve these and move forward.
This is Colette. So moved.
I have a motion. Do
I'll
I have a
second that.
second? Oh.
This is Linda Both.
All right, I have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just going to give us.
Diana.
Okay.
Aye.
Board Member Earl, do you have a vote?
Aye.
Hearing all ayes and no nays, policy passes. Sorry, item passes. We can move forward to.
Yes, this is Earl. Aye.
Perfect, thank you. It passes, and we're going to move forward to 3.1. This is an action item, approval of new district agreements. Superintendent. Would you like to talk about this, or is there anything?
Yep. So good afternoon, Board President Buchanan, Superintendent Reichman, Assistant Superintendent Cooper, and members of the board. We do bring forward today what we're hoping for is an approval to bring on a new district agreement. This would be within our Region 2 area, and it's with the Sonoran Science Academy of Phoenix.
Do I have a motion to approve this district agreement?
So moved. This is Bill.
I I need a
This
second.
is Linda. I'll second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
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 Diana, aye.
Motion carries. Next, we're going to go to 4.1. That is information item, finance report. Ken Bittridge.
Aye. This is Earl. Aye. This is Diana.
Good afternoon, Interim Board President Buchanan, Superintendent Reitman, Assistant Superintendent Cooper, Assistant Superintendent Katchop, members of the board and ASDB community. You've been provided with our most recent board report that covers the financial data from September 2024 and 2025. This data was covered in more detail at our most recent Finance Committee meeting held on Wednesday, November 5th, with Interim Board President Buchanan and Board Member Gordon. Also in attendance was Superintendent Reichman and Assistant Superintendent Cooper, and the Director of our SPED program department, Sarah Barlow. Sarah presented an overview of the SPED department, including staff responsibilities, students served, caseloads, and budget. The total student count provided in the board report for October 1, 2025 shows 1,815 compared to 1,952 students as of October 1st, 2024, a total decrease of 137 students. All areas have a decrease, while preschool increased by 1 student. When comparing the student count to September 1st, 2025 of 1,799, the student count has increased by 16. As of October 1st, we had 585 full-time equivalent positions, which included 8.5 at FBC, Foundation for Blind Children. At that time, we employed 659 staff. The new payroll system, AZ360, calculates the FTE based on the number of hours worked in a week, where typical FTE is calculated based on the number of hours worked in the year. This change has significantly increased our FTE since 10-month staff are calculated as 1 FTE instead of 0.71 FTE. There were 66 vacancies across the agency at that time. However, since then, the agency has implemented a hiring freeze, so there are no vacancies. The highlights of the September 2025 financial report show a total of $2.5 million was $1.5 million higher than the September 2024 revenue of $944,000. The major difference is the increase in institutional vouchers, federal grants, and classroom site fund revenues. The increase in the classroom site fund is mostly due to the increase in the per pupil allocation from $792 last year to $842 this year. The BFY 2025 obligated expenditures of $15.6 million were $240,000 more than BFY 2026 obligated expenses of $15.4 million. The decreases are in salary and professional and outside services, offset by an increase in employer-related expenditures. The decrease in professional and outside services is from a decrease in contracted transportation for the students. The Arizona Department of Transportation fleet charges are now calculated and included in travel since we are leasing the fleet from ADOT. This increases travel while decreasing other operating expenses. The financial reports show a decrease in fund balance of $135,000 due to the utilization of existing cash to make payments for salaries and vendors. This concludes my reports of the agency's financial status, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
This Bill, I have a question. Maybe I didn't understand exactly. An employee that is a 10-month employee, which was considered a 0.71 FTE is now considered a 1.0 FTE. Did I hear that right?
Yes. So before, they used to take the total hours worked in the year divided by 2080, which is a full-time equivalent. And now they're taking the number of hours worked in a week divided by 40 hours. So that increases our FTE, although our head count has gone down.
And is that not confusing for any other state agency that has people working 12 months out of the year? Because that would be a 1.0 FTE
Yes.
in any other state agency.
Yes. Well, the 12-month staff, which most of the professional staff are 12-month, those are still 1.0 FTE. It's just the teachers used to be considered 0.71 FTE. Now they're showing as 1 FTE. I don't understand
I get it. I know. I'm just seeing somebody that doesn't know anything about what we do sees 12 months and 10 months the same, and they're not the same.
Right.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is a question for you, Kim, or maybe for Shanna or for Annette. We have tried this is Mike Gordon speaking, we've tried for a while to increase the participation and census of members from the board to be on the Finance Committee. And I know there's a couple new members, and I was wondering, what is the process for someone to join?
Thank you.
This is Superintendent Reichman. Up until now, you as board members have self-selected to be on the Finance Committee.
Correct.
So, yeah.
This is Bill, I'll clarify, because I had come across some information that suggested I needed to get permission from the board, and I don't even know who that is. I mean, I know who we are, but I don't know, who do I ask to sit on that committee? Because I said I would be interested in sitting on it. Now you're saying just come. Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
This is Board Member Buchanan. Thank you, Kim, very much. Moving forward, we are actually at 7.1. This is a discussion and possible action item, approval of proposed revisions/additions to the Arizona Revised Statutes. And we are going to bring Maria Murphy up here to answer all of our questions and our comments.
Sorry to interrupt. This is the interpreter on Zoom. Could everyone...
Can you say that again, interpreter?
Yes, could everyone on Zoom mute? It's really hard to hear in the room. People are further away. So anything anyone can do to help would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Okay, Maria, are you ready? Thank you.
I am. Good evening, President Buchanan, members of the board, Superintendent Reichman, Assistant Superintendents, and members of the ASDB community. For the record, my name is Maria Murphy. I'm the Director of Policy and Government Relations, and I am here to talk to you today about some proposed legislative bills that we are looking to potentially take to the 2026 Arizona State Legislative Session. Before I go into the bills, let me just briefly talk to you about what our process was in how we went about drafting these bills. So the first part of the process involved a lot of research of the Arizona Revised Statutes, first to try to find other state agencies and organizations who were perhaps similarly situated to ASDB, and surprise, surprise, we're special. There's not many that are a perfect fit. We looked at school districts and charters. We looked at the Arizona Board of Regents, or ABOR. We looked at Arizona community colleges as well. And in looking at those statutes, we determined that probably the Arizona Board of Regents was the most similar for ASDB, in that it was a statewide agency with locations all across the state. After that, we went ahead and started looking specifically at dissecting ABOR's statutes to see what do we think are potential revenue generating ideas that could translate from ABOR to ASDB. I went ahead and held multiple meetings with our subject matter experts on that, and that was Shana, Oren, Superintendent Reichman, Albert, to try and bounce ideas off of them. I began the drafting process after getting consensus from the subject matter experts, and came up with some drafts. After that, I went back to my subject matter experts to make sure that I had actually accurately depicted what we felt was best for us. I also went to the Attorney General's office to make sure that they reviewed it and to make sure that there weren't any glaring red flags, because the last thing that we want is to take something that's half-baked to the legislature. And then finally, after that, I sought out advice and thoughts from other stakeholders in the legislature, stakeholders in the governor's office, stakeholders with our partners out in the school districts, and got thoughts and ideas from all of them as well. And so, taking all of that into account, now I'm going ahead and I'm bringing you all of these potential bills, and I am happy to discuss those bills with you. I know that there's a lot there. So if you like, I'm happy to take the bills one by one. Does that work?
I think that would work, yeah.
Okay, all right. So the first bill that ASDB is proposing would actually be a change not to Title 15, but to Title 5. And what we would be proposing is allowing access to the Arizona State Lottery Fund. So this would authorize the State Lottery Fund to give an appropriation to ASDB in the amount of no more than 80% of a lease to own or a bond agreement that would be entered into by the ASDB board. So are there any questions about that? It's a very brief bill. It's one paragraph.
Go ahead.
This is Mike Gordon. Maria, for all these four bills, first of all, thanks for explaining your process. That's really useful and important. Are there any projections as to what kind of revenue could be raised for these separate bills? I know when we get to the third party, and you're talking about acquisitions of buildings or funding, I mean, I remember from the facility report, you know, at one point, I think it was like 80 million or something like that Albert put together. So when we're talking about trying to raise funds in a variety of different ways, and I commend that. That's how the world works. You know, trying to survive without some kind of credit is unique nowadays. So if you could kind of go into any of that, if you have those kind of details, and that way also that helps us with. I know how much time you spend in Phoenix. On the Hill, so to speak, in at the Capitol. Yes. So that's an important piece for us to understand your recommendations and your perspective. So anything you can share, you know, kind of the pragmatic aspects, we appreciate.
Certainly. So for the State Lottery Fund is stating that there has to be a general appropriation by the legislature of at least $99 million that has to, and then after 3,500,000 goes into the Arizona Competes Fund, which is a specific fund that goes into the state lottery fund. We would essentially be getting in line, and there are many other organizations that receive monies from the state lottery fund. So other organizations would include ADOT, the Arizona Department of Transportation. ABOR is a primary recipient of state lottery funds. The governor's office receives some small amount of funding from the state lottery. And then there are quite a few nonprofit organizations that receive it as well. So we would be one additional organization kind of trying to get in line. So would the state lottery fund generate a significant amount of revenue? Probably not. Right now, the state financial situation is such that the JLBC, which is the Joint Legislative Budget Committee, is projecting right now a $67 million surplus after everything else is already paid out for the year. There's going to be a lot of jockeying for that excess $67 million. And I do not know, with the financial situation, with the budget situation being what it is right now, that ABOR or ADOT or many of these other organizations will take kindly to having maybe one more organization trying to get in on the act in terms of state lottery fund. So that's what I can say about that specific bill. The second bill that I drafted is the special license plate bill. So the special license plate bill is a revision to Title 28, that's the ADOT portion of the statute, that would essentially create a special license plate for deaf and blind education, and those any revenues from that would be placed into a special ASDB special plates fund that we would be able to use. The one caveat that I have with that bill is that that bill would require either ASDB or another nonprofit organization to put up approximately $32,000 if the bill is passed, to cover the costs of the design and the actual making of the license plate. And then that $32,000 would have to be paid back to ASDB or to the special organization after the license plate is made. So basically all of the initial revenues of the license plate would go back to the organization that put up the money, that $32,000. So the other thing to keep in mind is right now there's over 110 special license plates in the state of Arizona. There's a lot of them out there. And to do a special license plate, you would have to pay a $25 registration fee, and then you have to keep doing that every year, $25, and then the organization would receive $17 every year from that license plate. So will it generate revenue? Yes, it will. Will it generate enough revenue? Probably not likely, if you're asking my opinion. Then the next bill that I drafted was...
I'm sorry, this is Board Member Buchanan.
Yes.
I have a question on that one.
Yes.
The $32,000 you said is upfront?
Yes.
Then gets returned?
Yes.
Correct. Is that only if we reach past the $32,000?
Correct. That's only if we manage to generate over $32,000 in license plates.
I'm just going to do some quick math really quick. So we get 17 back. So we would have to have 1,882 people to choose our license plate in order to make that 32,000.
Math is not my forte, but I trust
If
you,
it was
President Buchanan.
$17 that
Yes.
we get back, okay.
Yes.
So we need approximately even 2,000 license plates out there in order to even reach beyond and get just our 32,000 back. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that point.
Yes,
Board
and-
Member Linda?
And this is Board Member Linda Bode.
Just to echo kind of what President Buchanan said, just to break even, we're looking at 2,000 in sales. After that, is there any sort of projected estimate? Is there any buzz out there of how many dollars we're actually talking about?
Board Member Bove, I have not done that research. I don't know, but if you like, I can research it and get back to you.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Certainly. And then the third bill that we drafted basically discusses, it adds quite a few definitions and gives you as a board additional powers and duties. And the most important thing is to be able to give you the authority to secure indirect or third-party financing for facilities, to acquire facilities, not just acquire, but acquire by purchase, contract, lease purchase, and to be able to hold or dispose of property, to be able to accept grants, subsidies or loans from a federal agency, to permit the board the authority to borrow monies to acquire or improve, and to also obtain lines of credit for cash management or liquidity purposes. So this particular bill, I think, if you are asking, you haven't asked for my opinion, but I'm just going to, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you anyway. I think that this, out of all of the bills, is probably the most important bill because it grants you, the board, the flexibility to acquire third-party financing, to be able to purchase, to be able to dispose, to be able to obtain lines of credit. I think that granting the ASDB board the flexibility to do these things, I think would be huge because right now, to a certain extent, I think with our statutes, the ASDB board is slightly handcuffed when it comes to revenue generation. And I feel like if we can get this particular bill across, this is, in my opinion, is the bill that could potentially have the greatest positive impact for the schools. And then finally, the final bill is the capital improvement, the lease to own agreement, to which Superintendent Reichman explained pretty well. It would just allow ASDB the opportunity to enter into lease to own agreements. Again, it's about that flexibility. So I think that lease to own in conjunction with being able to obtain lines of credit, to be able to secure third-party financing, I think those two things together, again, could be game changers for ASDB. And with that, do you have any questions for me? Yes.
Hi, it's Bill. The lease to own, that's talking about building on campus by some entity, then we would lease back from them, but continuing to maintain this campus as the ground upon which it's built.
It could, but I don't believe that it would preclude us from going someplace else. But yes, it would allow for this campus.
Okay. And it seems I recall several years ago that Valley Bank was a finance source for the buildings that are currently on campus. I realize that was a generation or two ago, obviously, with where we are with some of the buildings, but I think that's what we had done at that point. Okay.
Yes, so for those of you who are Arizona long-timers, you may remember that during the last Great Recession, the Capitol and the legislature and a lot of government buildings were leased to own to be able to generate revenue for the state. So it's not unheard of.
Yeah, thank you.
Maria, the third-party arrangement bill, that would also be in conjunction conceivably with the lease-to-own option?
What I would like to see is to try to run both bills and see if we can get them both across the finish line, because I think that while both of them would be helpful, while one of them would be helpful, I think both of them would give ASDB maximum flexibility, because then you can lease to own, but then you also have the ability to take on that third-party financing to get that line of credit so that you can get the funds to lease to own.
Now, the lease to own certainly addresses capital improvements or capital needs. The third party, and certainly the lottery and the license plates, those kind of seem like they would be operational deficit focused, whereas the third party could be considered to be used for operational deficit, but also for capital improvement. I mean, that would be line of credits, that would be working with a bank, presumably, or a private funder, I suppose, but to be able to just obtain credit. And being able to have the board authorize that and be able to be involved in that decision making.
Yes. So under that bill where it talks about indirect and third-party financing, it does specifically say for capital improvements.
For the third-party capital?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for capital improvements.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the first two are kind of for operational more so than, or conceivably.
Yes. So I think that they are smaller amounts that would be revenue generating. And then the final two are capital improvements.
Okay. Thank you.
One last question. This is Bill. So presuming these get passed in the legislature, do you have a timeline for when they would be considered? And then let's just assume for discussion purposes they're approved. So then does the procurement go through some myriad of state agencies for architecture and whatever all that building stuff is? What's the projected timeline if it's approved? Or have you even done that? You may not have even done that yet.
So what I can tell you is that typically bills become effective 90 days after sine die, or the adjournment of the legislature. Typically, that is sometime around September. And then once it becomes effective, that's when we could start moving into a potential procurement process to talk to creditors, to talk banks, et cetera. And then I would probably defer to Albert to say how long a process would take. I think we would want to try to figure out what exactly the plan is, what we would like to do, what we think is the most feasible, as well as the most fiscally responsible. And then we would do a project timeline. Does that sound accurate? But yes, if this were to pass, we could start having those conversations around September.
And this is Board Member Linda Bove. Those last two bills, are those, in your experience, the state? Are they receptive to that? Do they see that we're different than a general state agency? What does that kind of look like comparatively from your past experience to current? Is it unusual or is it fairly common?
Linda, you're asking me to look into a crystal ball. So what I can tell you is that the legislature, even in just the 10 years that I have been doing this, has changed. Priorities have changed. But what I hope will go a long way is that the legislature will see that we are trying. We are looking at all the options here. Everything is on the table, and we're doing that because we know what our mission is. We are laser focused on ensuring the education of deaf, low vision, blind, visually impaired, and hard of hearing children. So I hope that they will appreciate the fact that we are looking at all the options and we are not afraid to try to be creative, to try to think outside the box. Now, what will the legislature do? I have no idea what the legislature is going to do. If I knew, I would go buy a lottery ticket. I'm not sure if it will pass or not. But what I know is we have to try. We have to try something, because nothing, as Assistant Superintendent Katchoff said, doing nothing is not an option. Hope is not a strategy.
So, a question. The challenge here I see is, can we convince the legislatures to their mindset for the future of this school and this agency based on what we've seen in the last 4 years, kind of the sunset audit, the way we've had to fight for this? Do you feel like their mindset has changed? How are we going to convince them that we're working hard, that we're working very hard, that we're doing what we need to do? How do we convince them of that? Not just for getting other outside support, but getting other outside entities involved as well.
That's a really great question, Linda, and I think we need to do the work. And the work is going and meeting legislators one-on-one and talking to them, sending emails, making phone calls, going to committee meetings and talking about this, getting as many legislators as we possibly can to come down here and take a tour so that they can see the status of the campuses for themselves. So there is no getting around the fact that we, and when I say we, I mean everybody in here, we all have to do the hard work and the heavy lifting. So I'm just one person, and I try to do what I can, but I need everybody's help here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Board Member Buchanan. Those of you on the phone, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns for Maria regarding 7.1?
This is Colette. I have no concerns.
Board members Terry and Diana, do you have any comments or concerns?
Yes, this is Earl. I've been listening to all the options, and I like 3 out of 4 of them. But I agree with what the discussion has been thus far. And I think we just need to keep exploring all the available options for right now.
This is Board Member Buchanan. If there is no more questions or comments or discussion, this is a possible action item. We can have a, well, I guess I should clarify, Maria, you're looking for us to move this so you can go ahead and with these bills to the legislature in January, correct? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Can I ask one more
Yeah,
question?
go ahead.
This is Mike. Maria, in your opinion, do you think there is strength in having 4 bills try to go through? First of all, I'm assuming sponsorship seems kind of likely. Is there strength with 4 bills, or is that a does that open the positive opportunity to say, well, let's have the 2 bills, the capital ones, which are more substantial, and do you think there's strength in 4, or do you think that might be a deterrent? I know you wrote all 4, so.
Yes. So.
You understand my question?
Yes, I absolutely understand your question. It's a good question. I think that there's pros and cons. That having been said, 4 bills for one organization, especially a small organization like ours, is a lot. And one of the things that I want the board to keep in mind is we run the risk of we don't know what the legislature is going to move forward versus what they're just going to sit on. And what I would hate is for the legislature to move forward the special plates bill, but not move forward third-party financing or, or the lease to own,
right,
which are the ones that have the greater chance of generating significant revenue to actually be able to give us the solutions that we're looking for. So that is a potential risk that we could be looking at if we decide to run for. The other risk is that when you start looking at changing other people's statutes, meaning like the state lottery fund, then you're giving an opportunity for potentially ADOT, ABOR, and all of these other organizations the chance to stand up and say, no, there's already not enough money as it is. Now we're going to let one more organization in. That's something to think about too. But I also understand why the subject matter committee said, Maria, draft 4 bills, because we want to but we want everybody to see that we are looking at all the options, the whole gamut on the table. We're exploring everything. But it's up to you, board, what your appetite for risk is. And you also need to look at cost benefit. And I can't give you an answer on that. That's something that the board needs to make its own decision on.
This is Bill. I'm all for all 4 of them. I think it's we hit them with everything that we've got. But I think all 4 of them are incumbent on us having solid student need data to walk in and not just say, oh, our buildings are falling down. We know specifically there are students in the state that are not being served at the level they should be in order for us to continue that mission, not only just the children that are on our campuses in Tucson or Phoenix, but also around the state, all those other areas where children are not being served. And it's important for them to understand that 65% that we got in our conference that's huge. That is huge. So they understand then that they're going to meet maybe what appears to be a hidden need. We need to put it out in the open, and we can do that very clearly. And I think that's going to be a piece that will be important for them to have.
I completely agree, Bill, and that's part of the process of making sure that we're doing the work.
Yes. Given that, I move that all 4 of these be approved as written. Is that okay? Did I say that right?
Yes.
I'll second that motion. This is Linda.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is Earl. Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
So I know that.
Excuse me, this is Diana. Apologies for the delay. This is Diana. Can you hear me?
Yes, board member, we can hear you.
This is Diana. Hello? Hello?
Hi, Diana.
Diana?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Yes. Hi, yes, this is Diana here. Apologies for the sound issues, but I am talking through a sign language interpreter. And as I'm listening to the discussion, I want to say that, wow, it's great to have all these perspectives. And after thinking about the 4 options, I am really not comfortable with submitting the license plate 1 or the lottery. I really think that we should hold off on those because looking at the bigger picture, I think that the lease to own and the other one are really important for our needs. It was, maybe it was Bill 2 and 3, but anyways, at any rate, so, I really would like the legislators to focus on those. The lottery and the license plate 1 could certainly submit later, but those 2 that could generate more, or I guess what I'm saying is hold off on the 2 and continue on with the most important of them that could get us the most and furthest.
Board member Diana, would you like me to register your vote as a nay on the motion?
Excuse me, apologies. No, I don't. I just wanted to say that, okay, and I think this was an issue with the technology and the interpreter. We needed this comment before the motion. I think there was a conflict in timing and that Diana was trying to speak before the motion occurred.
Okay.
Diana is saying, is the motion occurring right now? Because then I missed it.
This is Board Member Buchanan. Board Member Bill did put forth a motion to approve all 4 bills for Maria to take to the legislature. And we...
Oh, then, okay, then you can, correct, then you can document my vote as a nay.
Okay, thank you so much. I am sorry. I am trying to give enough time for technology to catch up. I will try to be a little bit more cognizant of giving a little bit more time after that for you. I apologize.
Board President Buchanan, may I make a comment? It did. Just what happened here with technology is what's happening with teachers out in the field. We have time here today to rest with the technology. We got a little extra time. We can sit around. All these people that we have here that are supporting us in technology are super. When you're a teacher out there all by yourself and your technology fails, your lesson stops. And for that child that day, that lesson stopped. And it is so critical for us to understand that while we all kind of joke, oh, my cell phone died, when you're on a lesson with a child, they don't get that again. That day does not come back. And we can talk about making up the lessons, but that's the kind of stuff that's frustrating teachers out there, whether they're teachers that are employed by us or teachers in local school districts who are also serving these children. So it really bears a good deal of our attention to understand statewide what's going on and why technology, while it's neat and it's nice, and in most cases it's comfortable, it doesn't work every time. And for us, we can take a few minutes and wait for a pause in this. But out there, they don't get that time again, and it's critical for us, I think, to understand. It's a teachable moment. Thank you.
This is board member. Oh.
Yeah. This is Board Member Bove. While Linda speaking here, while I appreciate, Bill, what you just said, however, technology and what we've just experienced today is sometimes the only option, especially for our deaf folks who are out in the field. They may not have a backup plan or a backup option. I know this may seem off topic, but since you brought it up, it actually makes me think that maybe it would be beneficial to have a Zoom call rather than a bridge line for board members who are unable to participate in person to be able to see in real time what's happening rather than through the use of multiple interpreters. That is something that I would propose to Superintendent Reichman, that I would request that we be able to have that for access purposes, and so that we could see our constituents, also to be able to see our board member peers, so that everyone has access. And just to clarify, while our hearing folks may be on the phone participating by bridge line, calling, cooking, doing other things in their household, walking around, not to try to be offensive, while I'm walking around giving you this real life example, we don't have equal access because of that being our only option.
Right.
So
Right.
thank you for that.
This is Superintendent Reichman. I would recommend that we move on to 7.2 at this time because we do need to comply with the agenda as written.
This is Board Member Buchanan. I appreciate both of you guys' input, and we will definitely get back to that. It is 5:44. We are about 15 minutes past a break. I would like to take about a 10-minute break for our interpreters and everybody. So I would like to see everybody back at, oh my gosh, I can't do math, 54. Thank you. 5 p.m. and we're coming back. We are now at 7.2. I don't know if that was me. We're at 7.2, which is a discussion and action item, the urgent approval of revised policies GCC and GCCF. Maria.
There I am. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Board President Buchanan, members of the board, Superintendent Reichman, Assistant Superintendents, members of the ASDB community. You have before you the red lines of the policies in question, GCCC and GCCF. I do want to note that we are asking for urgent approval of these policies, which would basically approve these changes in one read rather than the typical two read. And with that, I'd like to make myself available for any questions.
Those board members on the phone, do you have any questions?
Diana has a question. She's been trying to ask.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh.
Okay. Hi, yes, so this, again, this is Diana from the interpreter, and I wanted to say what actually happened with 7.1.
With 7.1, there was a motion to move I'm sorry, Mayor. There was a motion to move all four of the bills forward. There was a second. All board members approved, except you came in with the last comment and then wanted your vote registered as a nay. The motion did pass.
Okay, thank you.
Diana, do you have any questions about 7.2, those policies?
No, I do not. No.
Thank you. Board Member Terry, do you have any questions about those policies? Board Member Chapman on the phone, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Thank you. We're going to try and do just name everybody so we can go through and make sure everyone's getting access. Anybody else sitting here, do you have any questions about these policies? Fantastic. We will need a motion to have these approved in a second.
Board Member Buchanan, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Maria.
I believe that we first need a motion to suspend the two reads.
Oh, okay.
And then do a motion to approve the policy.
Okay, board. The two reads, yes. I will second that.
This bill, I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Board Member Diana? Perfect, that carries. We'll now need a motion to approve these policies and move forward with them.
I'll move the policy be approved. This bill. Thank you.
This is Shauna. I'll second that motion.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 It carries.
Thank you.
All right, board, that's going to bring us down to uh, 7.6. This is a discussion and action item. This is the election of the 2026 board officers. Pursuant to this to policy, we do this at the end of kind of like the end of the calendar year, which would be this meeting. The way that this has worked in the past, in my experience, is the board will put forth the names that they would like to nominate to positions. That board member will accept that or deny that nomination. And then the board is going to go ahead and vote that person into office. We are voting for a board president for the 2026 year, as well as a board secretary. So I will give the board the floor, and we'll make sure that we have time set aside for the people on the phone to have be able to have all the interpreting done so we can get to that end point. Okay, so for board secretary, do we have anybody, would anybody like to nominate someone for secretary? Or would someone like to nominate themselves for secretary?
I'll nominate Linda to continue as secretary. This is Bill.
I guess this is Board Member Buchanan. I guess I should outline that Linda has been acting in the capacity of secretary per my request per meeting. So she has not taken on the interim secretary title. So this would be a nomination for you, Linda, as secretary.
Thank you, Bill. However, I believe that my term is actually expiring in the year 2026, unless some sort of situation were to change.
Oh, she's a board member. Do I need to call the governor and ask her if he can stay on? I know that's out of protocol, but we'll just go ahead and say it.
This is Superintendent Reichman. Yeah. I would just like to say, Linda, your term will not be completed until 2027, January of 27. Oh. So you do have a year.
Oh, in that case, I will accept.
Board members on the phone, do you have any comments, input, or would you like to move forward with voting on this? I'm sorry, that board member that just spoke, could you repeat? Did anybody catch that?
And as the interpreter, so I know that somebody was nominated, I believe, Lynn.
I'm sorry, board member, could you repeat that, please?
Right
This is Board Member Buchanan. We are currently taking nominations or a vote, because we do have a vote on the table, for the position of secretary. We had a board member nominate Board Member Bove as secretary. She did accept the nomination.
Okay, great, thank you.
Would you like to cast a vote for Board Member Bove to become secretary?
Yes, aye.
Board Member Terry?
Yes, aye.
Board members present? In favor of Board Member Bove becoming secretary for the 2026 year, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Board
Thank
Member
you.
Bove, you are now secretary for the 2026 school year.
Wow, thank you.
Next up,
I appreciate that. For president, I would like to nominate Board Member Buchanan for the 2026 year.
says Board Member Buchanan, I will accept that nomination.
Great, interpreter speaking, if someone could repeat, because some people are further away from the mic maybe, or the phone, I mean, so it's hard to hear. So anyway, if someone could just repeat what was just said.
Sure. This is Board Member Bove speaking, Linda speaking. I want to nominate our interim president, Brittany Buchanan, to be our permanent president for the year 2026.
This is Board Member Buchanan. I will accept the nomination. If there's no other nominations, comments, or concerns, especially with those on the phone, we will need a motion and a vote for that.
This is Gordon, so moved.
May I second? This is Linda speaking.
I second, this is Colette.
Thanks.
Board Member Diana and Board Member Terry, we will take your votes first.
This is Earl. Aye. This is Diana. Aye.
Those present?
Aye.
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 So moved. Thank you all for the nomination. I am happy that you have faith in me to lead this board and serve the agency, and I look forward to serving you all in the capacity of president of the board for this next school year. And I don't want to use the word hope, but I do hope that I can be a good representation of what everybody needs here, and the families that we serve, and the children that we serve, and the people that we serve, and that I can help lead this agency forward into what might be a daunting year coming up, but I will persevere, and I will persevere along with all of you. And I look forward to working with all of our leadership, because I think we have a really amazing team right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we are going to move forward to 7.7, which is the discussion action item, where we set the calendar for the 2026 regular board meetings. Board members, you do have a proposed calendar in board docs, and if we are good with this calendar, we can move forward with that. I will take any comments, concerns, changes, proposed changes. Otherwise, Diana, go ahead.
As you know, I represent AC hard of hearing here at ASDB, and one day we actually have meetings on the same day, which is November 12th. But I think maybe someone will change the schedule or not. I don't know. You can move forward, but just so you're aware that I wouldn't be able to be there at that time. One moment for the interpreter. But I do in fact support those dates and can move forward with that. Just a comment for everyone to be aware of.
Okay, thank you. Are we able to change the date for that if she can attend, or would we like to just move forward with, this one? Okay.
Or, this is Board Member Bove, or we could potentially change the location, change the date or a location if that makes attendance more feasible.
This is Superintendent Reichman. I did want to inform the board, if there are changes to the date and or location, we will have difficulties reserving the space, specifically the BPAC that we are in now. Leticia has already reserved the facilities 6 months ago for this coming year, as well as in Phoenix at the SPAC. So we could change that date, but just a heads up, we might also need to change locations depending on theater availability.
This is Board Member Bove. Thank you, Superintendent Reichman. I definitely would like to be able to have our ACDHH deaf representative able to attend. I do think that that representation is vital. As one of the organizations that is, per the governor's office, required to serve on our ASDB board. So just a thought. Follow-up. Annette, could we have, since there is some time before November, could we allow time for that investigation to see if a location or date change is possible?
For November 2026, we can look into that. Yes, that is a possibility.
Right, thank you.
So we can do a we would like this to be tabled for investigation into possibly changing the November 2026 date. Board Member Diana, go ahead. This is Board Member Buchanan. Thank you so much for that input, Board Member Diana. So we can take a vote to just approve this calendar for next year.
Yes. Can I make a motion to accept the proposed calendar dates for the 2026 year as proposed in this agenda item?
This is Shauna. I second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
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 This is Earl, aye. This is Diana, aye.
Fantastic, motion carries. That is our board calendar. Next, I have 8.1, which is the call to the public on non-agenda items. I do have 2 calls to the public on non-agenda items. First, I have, I am really sorry if I mispronounce names, Guillermo Attendo. Are you present and would like to come down and address the board? Okay. The second one I have was via email on the non-agenda item. It is Sherry Brown. Sherry Brown, are you present and would like to come address the board?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sherry Brown. I'm the counselor in the high school. And I totally understand we're in a really hard place and there needs to be change. And we have to look at how to do things differently to address our budget shortfalls. But I think it's extremely critical that we are very careful that we don't impact our student services any more than they've already have been, especially here on the Tucson campus. Because to dilute or tear apart our existing services and programs aren't going to be beneficial in the long run. And I certainly know the auditors or legislators don't want us to cut to a point that we're not providing quality services. And so that's a really delicate balance. I know it's hard for administrators, but those of us who are doing the work day in and day out, I had mentioned back in March when I spoke to the board, we were at bare bones then, and there have been even more cuts this fall. And, you know, taking away necessary resources and implementing hiring freeze on much needed student positions creates a ripple effect that really directly impacts students, but it also weakens our current services and programs rather than strengthening them. And so I want everyone to be mindful that, yes, there's money to be cut and things to be, but we're taking it from the student level. And again, I don't have a magic wand, but we have to look elsewhere in other places because, again, why we're all here is for the students. And teacher burnout, low morale, stress, and fear from all the emails and information has created more problems. And I think it's really important that administrators come and talk face-to-face with staff to have discussions, real discussions about what's going on so staff can, and meeting in small groups, not big meetings, to have discussions on staff concerns and things because we don't want to lose the staff we have. It's really hard, as you can see, to retain or recruit qualified staff. So we really need to take care of our current employees and provide the support they need, but also communicate and include us in this process. I mean, this information on the board meetings is helpful, but many people are home resting for the next day at work because we have limited resources. From K to 12, we have one administrative assistant to take care of an entire school, elementary, middle school, high school. I can't even begin to say the changes that we've been dealing with, but we need to be heard, we need support, we need that feedback and opportunity to have our voices heard and to get clarification what's going on. I like when Maria was talking, we talked at break about the legislator. I really think bringing students, having students tell their stories, because we're not a business of education only. We change students' lives. I've been here 32 years. I've seen the changes that we create for these young people, and it's extraordinary and profound. Our legislators need to hear this and know what we do, because our numbers aren't showing that, but we do change lives, and it's an amazing thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving forward, we're at 8.2, discussion and action item, agenda items for the next regular board meeting that is scheduled in January. Is there anything that anybody right now would like to put on the agenda for next meeting?
This is Bill. I don't know if it's an agenda item for the meeting. I'd like to know how study sessions are scheduled, who schedules those, when they're scheduled, what's the process for getting those in place?
I'm sorry, I missed the first word that you said that you were
Study session?
Study sessions.
Or study work session?
Okay, can you repeat what your concern is?
I'd like to know what the process is for scheduling a work study session, study work session. I don't know what the term is. Work outside of this that the board meets to, I guess, discuss a particular topic or topics without making decisions. That comes back to the board.
So the board sets the work study sessions. Usually at a board meeting, we can bring up a concern that we'd like to have a study session on, and then we can direct that to happen for a certain date. Usually our study sessions are scheduled within the months in between our board meetings. So technically our next one could be in February with a specific topic that gives the subject matter experts time to be able to gather whatever information you're asking for.
So the next interim is December, so there's nothing that could be scheduled for December.
Yes. We could possibly schedule something for December. I was just trying to be cognizant of
No, that's fine.
the holidays and,
Absolutely.
everything like that for everybody.
So who schedules those?
We do.
Well, we is kind of generic, but who's the we? Yeah. Do we as a board have to vote on scheduling that, or is it you, or is it Annette? I need to look at the protocol for doing that.
Annette, would you like to make a comment?
Yes, this is Superintendent Reichman. I would just say that you don't have to do a vote for that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to, you can go ahead and do so. But if you want to schedule a work study session in February, we can certainly do that. I know that for the new board members, you have missed the spring work study sessions that we hosted. And during those sessions, we focused heavily on our budget and our capital needs, as well as our strategic plan. We can give you an update on the budget in February, as well as the capital needs, if you'd like. That's certainly something we can do. And if you'd like to do that, we would just say pick a Thursday in February at 4 o'clock, and we will make that work. It would be in Phoenix.
Yes, this is board member Linda Bove. I like that idea to have, we will have a refresher for us and also for new board members to understand exactly where we stand. Since our last session, things have changed. So I think it would be critical, a good time to reserve that in February to learn about, maybe that would help support whatever you need.
So are these sessions, this is Bill again, are these one topic sessions? You can only talk about one thing or what?
That's correct.
Yes, this is Superintendent Reichman. Yes, that is correct. They are typically over one specific topic, and they tend to be about an hour and a half long, at most 2 hours, because most of us don't generally last longer than 2 hours in these meetings. But those types of meetings have been very productive for the board members and for us as well, because there can be a lot of discussion during those meetings. And I might recommend, yes, an update on the budget, as well as our facilities needs or capital needs. And we can provide that update on those two topics. And that would just give the board a better understanding of the decisions that we have to make in 2026. Yeah.
Good.
That didn't answer my question. So I appreciate that we've got a finance committee that talks about budget. We've talked about budget here. I appreciate there's budget problems. I suspect there are going to be budget problems for some time to come. It seems like there needs to be some other discussion about dynamics associated with the sustainability of the school. It's just like you said, Superintendent, that in order for us to be sustainable, we got to have some actions that increase our level of services to students, whether they're on campus or in the regional programs. So I'd like to know a little bit more about what actions are being taken to expand our outreach to local school districts that maybe aren't participating at this point. And again, I'm coming from a real specific point of view, and that is in talking with teachers out there that are not ASDB teachers, they're struggling with caseloads. How are we going to go about addressing and reaching out to those teachers to say, we have something to offer that we can get with you? How do we get to that point so that those discussions occur, which then builds us data to go to the legislature and say, of course we need new buildings, but we got this huge need in the state that's hidden. And I want to get that need unhidden and make it public so that the decision makers in Phoenix understand it's more than just we want to survive. I don't want to survive as a board member here. I want to see services to those youngsters and those teachers out there that are struggling every day. I mean, we heard our counselor here say, people are kind of burned out. Well, yeah, they are, and for a good reason. Bad things, but we understand the reason. But there are a lot of teachers in the state that are going through the same things. And what kind of relief specifically can we get to them? How do we get to them? And I'd like to see a board discussion on that so that we have some direction from us to say, here's where we move. And again, the budget's okay, but to hear, thank you, to hear us say we need more money, well, of course, everybody needs more money. And everybody that goes to the legislature is going to say we need more money. We need to have data and information that is drilled right down to the school district level across the state that says this is how we're going to serve those underserved or unserved children. Now, how do we get that kind of a topic on an agenda? And I appreciate the hour to an hour and a half, and I don't work, so I'm retired. I got all the time in the world to spend on the topic. I know you don't, and so I want to make sure that that's an effective and efficient meeting. But I also want to make sure that something comes out of it that we can say that's a target that we're going for. Does that make sense?
Yes, this is Superintendent Reichman, and we can study a work study session, schedule a work study session in February, and the topic is up to the board. You can pick a Thursday and just let us know. Pick which Thursday works best for all of you. My recommendation, as I said, is that we focus on the budget and our capital needs, because the budget supports everything that you were just talking about, Bill. Without the budget, without the financing, we are not able to do anything. So we do have to have a thorough understanding of the budget first before we start talking about our plans for the future.
And we're going to look at the same topic on two different sides. My projection is we don't wait for somebody to tell us what our budget is. We tell somebody what we need in order to provide services, and those services are clearly defined based on who's unserved or underserved in the state. That, to me, seems to be a more important direction than counting pennies again, because now we're just shifting deck chairs on the Titanic, and that doesn't seem to be terribly productive. I'm not necessarily interested in sitting through another budget meeting. Not that the information's bad. I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, that's very clear. But if we're not going to get any more funding, obviously we need to come back with some information that says how do we change our perception in the state with those underserved or unserved school districts.
Okay, this is Superintendent Reichman. I would just say that Maria Murphy has just described from her years of experience with the state legislature. The state legislature has changed significantly. There are some members of the state legislature who are not interested in additional information. They are not interested in meeting with us. So what we can do is provide information to the state legislature, and we can do advocacy, and we have, and we will continue to do that. I'm just saying that some state legislators have less interest in hearing our expertise and knowledge, so we have to adapt to the new reality and figure out how we are able to use the resources that we do have more effectively, because we don't know if the state legislature will give us any additional resources, even with the additional information, additional research and data that we can present. We just don't know. We don't have a guarantee as before.
Excuse me. President Buchanan, members of the board, Superintendent Reichman, Deputy Superintendents. I'm Assistant Attorney General Vicki Bergen, and
I'm sorry, 1 second. Can you put your mic up a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you. And lean in a little bit. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Assistant Attorney General. I'm hearing echoing. So I'm Assistant Attorney General Victoria Bergen, and I would just like to caution the board that at this point we are starting to delve into off the agenda item that we're talking about right now, which is, future agenda items that you'd like to see be in future meetings. And we're starting to delve into more of a topic that's not the agenda item right now. So I would advise that we move on and with this agenda item, and if there's anything that needs to be put on future agenda items, let's address that and then move on so that we don't divert off of the agenda. Thank you.
Help me understand how we do that. I'm not understanding what.
The issue is that the discussion that is going on right now is getting more in depth into the actual discussion of what you may want to discuss at another board meeting. So we need to stay away from the actual discussion and just move and list what we want to be put on the next agenda.
Okay, thank you.
This is Board Member Buchanan. Okay, so we can have a work session in February, and Leticia will send out a poll on what day is going to work. I personally will request that we try to do it on a Wednesday, just due to my personal work schedule. And if that works with the board, that would be amazing and great. And we can do it on something relative to the finances. Other than that, if there's anything that you would like on the agenda for the next board meeting, which I've heard no commentary, I'll give the board members on the phone a minute to be able to voice if they have anything. But we can move forward after that. So board members on the phone, do you have anything you would like to put on our next agenda? Board Member Terry? And then Board Member Terry, do you have anything you would like to put on the agenda?
This is Earl Huffington.
Thank you. If anything comes up between now and then, please just email me or Superintendent Reichman, and we can get that on the agenda. Next action item is 9.1, which is adjournment. I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting and a vote.
I move that we adjourn the meeting. This is Board Member Linda Bove.
This is Shauna. I second that motion.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Board Member Terry? Board Member Terry, would you like to cast a vote to adjourn the meeting?
Aye.
Board Member Diana?
Aye.
Fantastic. Meeting is adjourned.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.